Hey, what's going on? It's Kevin Deers. Ever Flowing Stream is the name of the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on another one of my interviews. This week, I'm talking with Sammy Duet from a band called Goatwhore. He was one of the founding members of Acid Bath. He was also in a highly influential band that's still going today called Crowbar. I think we all know Little Crowbar. So Sammy and Goatwhore are going to be coming into town here in Seattle, where I live, on October 29th, a couple days before Halloween. So we talk about that. A bit of a one-off. They're not really doing a tour, just doing some shows in New Orleans and Louisiana area. So we talk about what brings them out to Seattle. We talk a little bit about some old school Acid Bath talk about sobriety and how it was important during the pandemic for him not to lose his mind, and a variety of other topics, including some info on some brand new Goatwhore material. So if you could click comment, click subscribe, and keep checking back on this channel. I really appreciate it. But without any further ado, here's my interview with Sammy Duet from Goatwhore here on Ever Flowing Stream. All right. Hey, what's going on? Hanging out here with Sammy Duet from Goatwhore. And obviously, he has quite the resume. We will go into a little bit of his backstory in a few, but his band, Goatwhore, is going to be playing here on the 29th with Eris, Death Cave, and La Cabra up at El Corazon. Now, Sammy, you're down in New Orleans right now?
Yes.
Awesome. You have quite the guitar assault there. How many guitars do you have in your room?
A lot.
Over 10?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This room has about, I would say somewhere around 20. And then in the other room, there's another 15 to 20.
God
And
damn.
at the rehearsal room, there's like 5. And there's a couple of them that are in the shop that are being upgraded.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm a guitar hoarder.
Hey, you know what? You're not a guitar hoarder. You're a collector of fine instruments.
Yes, that I like the way you talk.
Okay, so I was kind of creeping around and trying to see if you guys are on tour. It doesn't look like you guys are on tour. You guys are just doing like a one-off Seattle date. Is that right?
Yes. Well, what's going on is that what's today? Today is a Tuesday.
The 19th. Yep.
It's the 19th. Okay, so on the 22nd, we are playing here in town with the I God in New Orleans. Then on the 23rd, we're playing in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours away from here. Then we pretty much taken the week off to kind of work on some new material and stuff. And then next weekend, we're coming to Seattle to play on a Friday. We fly home on the Saturday, and on a Halloween night, we are playing again in New Orleans for a surprise show. That surprise show.
So I gotta ask, man, what is it about Seattle that makes you choose to come here out of anywhere you could go? You guys played, Psycho Vegas, a one-off there. You guys are playing a lot of gigs locally, but then you go the farthest you can in the United States, basically, to come just to us. We get our own Goatwhore night of awesomeness. What is it about us, or did it just happen that way?
Well, Lance from
La Cabra
reached out to me, and he was like, what do you think about playing in Seattle on Halloween night? And I was like, well, if you can get us out there and we can make everything work, we have no problem coming to Seattle and playing a show.
Yeah.
But what happened was we couldn't get Halloween night. Like way back when this whole thing came to be, everything was booked. So he was like, well, what do you think about the Friday on the 29th? I'm like, if that works for you, that works for us. No problem. And it all worked out. So
that's awesome. So do you go back with Lance then? You guys have been friends for a while then?
Oh yeah, I've been knowing Lance for quite a while now. So yeah, me and Lance are very, very good friends.
Has he done any tattoos on you?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
I know what might happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right on. Well, I was just curious about that because it's like, New Orleans. I've only been down in New Orleans one time. It was for WrestleMania 3 years ago. That was a blast. But like I said, it's about as far as you can get in the United States. And I'm just stoked that we get our own special showcase of Goatwhore.
Yeah, it all worked out,
So as far as, you guys are going to be playing right around the Halloween weekend, and might not be Halloween night, but it's Halloween weekend. So it's Halloween.
The spirit of Halloween will be there that weekend. Let's say it like that.
Exactly. So as far as like you go with Halloween, do you have any traditions with Halloween? And does it get pretty spooky down there in New Orleans? Because you get the voodoo, the hoodoo. It probably gets pretty cool down there around Halloween.
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as like, how can I say this? As far as like going out and experiencing the nightlife of New Orleans during Halloween, I highly suggest that more than like Mardi Gras. It's like Mardi Gras without all the idiots and without all the like fanfare.
Sure.
It's more of like a consolidated Mardi Gras, I would say. Sure. But it's essentially
without all the amateurs, right?
Exactly. It's more of the professionals out during that time.
Yes.
But it's always a good time. Everybody's the costumes, like, we're famous for the whole Mardi Gras grandeur and all this stuff. It's basically Halloween is like taking that idea but making it spooky. So it's just some of the costumes you'll see out in like the French Quarter if you go out there Halloween night or during that whole weekend.
Yeah,
you'll see some pretty insane stuff. Just people like just taking things to the next level as far as like their costumes and the whole thing.
That's awesome, man. What's been your favorite thing to dress up in your entire life? So thinking about when you were a little kid, all the way up to this, what is there one costume that just like you can't beat?
I always tended to always be the Grim Reaper.
Nice. Okay.
For some reason, that was my thing, is that I always wanted to be the Grim Reaper.
That's awesome.
It might be some kind of deep mental thing. Who knows?
One specific time I was at a hardcore show and there was this big mosh pit and I dressed up as a candy corn. And I just had this big felt candy corn costume. So you just see a candy corn pitting around, moshing, getting kicked in the face. And it was just like, that was a good one. It was a bit out there, but it was a fun one. It wasn't very scary, but it was goofy to see a candy corn in the pit.
I've seen something very similar to that. We had played, I think it was a couple of years ago. We actually played on Halloween here.
Nice.
And someone was actually dressed up like Santa Claus.
Nice.
Halloween. And they were basically doing the same thing that you were doing.
Yep.
We're just going in the pit and acting like a complete animal. I'm like, oh, there goes Santa.
Yep.
He just slammed some dude on the ground.
There was it was a tradition for this band Himsa up here in Seattle to play a Halloween show. And one year there was a guy who is Jesus Christ, like full on with just a cloth around his crotch. And he had a full wooden cross and he was in the pit. You couldn't get around him, dude, because he had this huge wooden cross.
Yeah. I mean, he dressed up like that for Halloween, but it's also a shitty way to spend Easter as well.
That's true. That's true. Okay, man. Well, okay. So I'm curious about, we're talking a little bit about Halloween down in New Orleans. But there is a rich musical history, not just with metal, but like with the bands like the Meters and so much wonderful. And then like the hip hop, the funk, the soul, and then goes into the heavy rock, the underground stuff, obviously Goatwhore, Acid Bath, Crowbar, I Hate God, Soylent Green. So much good underground rock and metal comes from New Orleans and just Louisiana altogether. What is it about your scene that is a breeding ground for such heaviness? Is there anything you can distill it down to?
Let me think about how I can phrase this. I think it came from more like a desperation to prove ourselves as a scene, because for a long time there has been a very thriving heavy metal scene here. Yeah. Like heavy metal and hardcore and punk and that whole thing. There's always been a very, very big scene for that here, but it never got recognized on a national level. and I think it was like all of us just trying to prove to the rest of the world that, hey, we're here and we're going to fucking kill you. Not kill you, but we're going to prove that we're heavier than you are.
Mm-hmm.
And darker than you are and more evil than you are. And I think that's what the whole thing is, that why all the bands here are just so massively heavy, is that, we've been overlooked for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, people started taking notice, and we were like, you know what, well, we're only going to get heavier from here.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically where the scene comes from, is just from just being ignored for so many years, and then all of a sudden everybody's into it, and just something to draw attention to our scene, basically, and the making the music as heavy as possible.
Absolutely, man. And there was a really good, in my opinion, and I'm curious about your opinion of it. There was a Vice Noisy video series about the New Orleans sludge and underground metal scene that came out a few years ago. And it was, very highly regarded, but being someone who is actually a part of that, do you think they did it justice? Were you happy with how it turned out?
They did a fantastic job with it. Really, when I saw the final version of it, I was like, I couldn't be happier. They got the whole vibe of what's going on around here. They captured it, perfectly.
That's awesome.
I cannot commend them anymore that they did such a great job.
Right on, man. Well, I'm curious about, obviously this has been a very strange portion of our lives that we're living through. I've been to a few shows now, and it was kind of strange even going back to it. It was like, all right, this is nice. This is good. Sonic therapy. But, it took me a little bit of adjustment. But as far as the 18 months off, or, however many months, how did you stay sane, dude? How did you stay, okay up there?
It was a rough one. Let's just put it that way. Well, what really happened was we were going to take off basically 2020 anyway, to start finishing up our new record. So that was initially the plan, was, okay, we're just going to take off 2020, no gigs, no nothing. We're going to concentrate on writing and recording the new record, and just try to really focus on making this the best record we possibly could. Then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it kind of was almost like perfect timing for us.
Yep.
Because we were planning on not really doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just that whole thing that's in the back of your mind, that even if you wanted to say, okay, let's take a break from this, we've been working on this for 6 months, let's go out and play a show. Just knowing that you couldn't do that sucked,
Yeah.
I mean, I was going through some pretty hard times, and I'm actually very glad I did what I did before that happened, because I was pretty heavily involved in drugs and alcohol right before that. And I quit everything at December of 2019.
That's huge.
And if let's just put it this way, if I wouldn't have quit right then, because I still had a few months under my belt before COVID had hit, I was doing good. I wasn't messing around with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if, I think if I would have kept on that path, being that when COVID hit everything, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now. I would probably either would have overdosed, drank myself to death, or literally committed suicide. And I'm not joking when I say that.
Yeah. No, I believe you.
I mean, if I would have kept walking on that road, I wouldn't be here right now. Just from, it was already hard enough being sober in that situation. And being all messed up on whatever in that situation would only make it 10 times worse.
Well, I got to congratulate you on that, man. Like, congratulations. That's a serious thing. I'm also sober too. And it's probably funny. Someone's tuning in, like drinking a beer, like, these two sober guys suck. But for real, it's a positive thing, and I echo your sentiment, man. I saw so many of my friends just when there's no rules and you don't gotta go to work, happy hour starts early. So if I wouldn't have had that, sobriety to keep me going during that time, it would have been very easy to get into a very dark place.
Yes, absolutely. And we're here to talk about it. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely, man.
That's all that really matters.
Yes. And so you guys, I'm assuming, did write and record an album, or are you okay? Awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Nice. Right on, man. And do you know, are you able to give me a time frame of when we might hear it? Next year, maybe?
Well, we just last week we got the final master of the record. And we are expecting the artwork on actually the day before we leave to come to Seattle. So
very cool.
The 28th, that's the deadline for the artwork. Hopefully it'll be done.
Yeah.
But, so everything will probably be turned in by Halloween.
That's awesome.
It's just a matter of the record company getting everything together and figuring out a date of when they can release it, because they're having all kind of issues right now. Like, when we want to release the record, we want to release all the vinyl and everything.
Dude, there's like a year backup with that shit. It's crazy.
That's what's terrifying.
Yeah.
We don't want to release the record and not have all the vinyl and everything to go with it. So it might be a little while.
CDs are coming back, man.
So it might be a little while before the record is actually released to where we could just hit everyone with everything at once.
Yeah.
We want to do it right. We're in no rush,
Absolutely, man. You don't want to put something out there half-assed, and just to get it out there. Goatwhore fans are passionate too, man. And I swear to God, dude, every metal show I'll come to in Seattle, there's at least one person that says, like, why, with a t-shirt that says "Why praise Satan?" or "Why praise God when you have Satan?" Like a Goatwhore shirt, There's always a Goatwhore shirt here in Seattle. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because you guys are badass, or because you have put out awesome t-shirts, but it's super consistent, man. So I got to tell you that.
It's kind of like that whole, how can I say it? It's kind of like the whole Motorhead t-shirt thing, that's what I want to achieve with a Goatwhore shirt, not to where everyone has to like my band, but everyone just has to wear the t-shirt.
Everyone, yes, exactly. and at least aware, aware.
Exactly.
It's out there in the ether.
That's awesome. That's great that people are repping. It's hard to gauge what's going on out there when you're trapped in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about. So you were trapped in Louisiana. You guys were recording. You were practicing and getting this record ready, and then the world starts to open up, and you guys were part of one of the big openings, the Psycho Las Vegas. Tell me about that. Bring me back to that weekend and how just amazing that must have felt, man.
Well, I mean, what happened was a lot of these European bands couldn't get into the United States.
Yep, that's what I heard. Yeah.
So we get a little call and says, "Hey, you guys want to play Psycho Las Vegas in 2 weeks?" And we were like, "Let me think." Yes, because we had did it in 2019 as well.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Even, for just for being in 2019 before the plague hit.
Yep.
It was still a fantastic. That was probably one of the best fests I've ever played in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But they asked us to do it, and we were like, "Okay, let's just do it. Fuck it. And, what's the worst that could happen?" And we got there, and we were slated to play earlier in the afternoon, and I forget who else. It was they kept stacking bands, so we'd be playing during some other, I think Chemist was playing during our original slot.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, we lucked out because the band that was supposed to play after us canceled. So they bumped us up to there, but during our time slot there was no bands playing.
That's perfect.
Yes, I think there was a Doc McGee Q&A or something that nobody really cared about,
Sure.
but we got basically we got the spot where nobody was playing against us.
That's great. That's perfect for one of those huge festivals,
dude. It was on the arena stage, and it was like it was for my first show back. One of my first shows back.
Yeah,
that was pretty. It was a pretty intense situation, but it was great. It was awesome. And it was a bunch of our friends had played there, so it was just good catching up with everybody that I'd seen and like
good vibes.
That's awesome. So it was a great time, for sure. I didn't want it to end.
Yes. Well, you're coming up to Seattle for another good night of it, and we'll be obviously plugging that some more. I have some questions about your formative years, if you don't mind. What got you into music? Did you come from a musical family?
Not really. I mean, not my parents listened to a lot of music, and what really drew me towards where I am today, it was like my uncle was like this big stoner guy. Okay.
And they always have the best record collections, right?
Nailed it on the head. So it was like he lived with my grandmother, so they would live in the front of the lane, and like not even a block down was where my parents lived. So I'd just be going back and forth to my grandma's house, hanging out with my uncle, and he had this insane record collection, like you said. And I remember we were listening to a lot of like Alice Cooper. And stuff like that, Black Oak, Arkansas, typical old Uncle Stoner music,
Yeah.
Then I see this record in the stack, and it's this very dreary looking house in the woods
with a
witch on the front. And I'm like, what's that? And he goes, that's Black Sabbath. Put it on. That's where everything changed.
Okay. I like that.
Rain and the bell and those first three notes. And that was it. That was where I knew where I was going at that point. Let's put it that way.
So I see you're wearing a GBH t-shirt, classic punk band. What was your kind of foray into the underground? Because obviously Black Sabbath, but like a metal band, but they're a very large, band. They're like an institution. Then there's an underground, and you must have had some sort of entrance into that. What was it?
Well, I was hanging out when I was real young. I was still in high school. I was hanging around with all these skater kids who skateboard, and they were all into like all the underground punk and thrash and stuff like that. And that's actually one of the first times that I actually heard Corrosion of Conformity.
Hell yeah.
Because one of the girls that would hang around with all the skate guys, she gave me it was Eye for an Eye on cassette. I still have it. And she's like, well, you might want to listen to this. This is a little bit more kind of probably what you would like. It's a little bit more extreme.
Yeah.
And I just heard that, and I was like, that's when I started getting into more of like the punk kind of stuff and more extreme metal, Then of course came with that was like Slayer and Exodus and all the classics, Then from there, of course, we were trying to look for heavier stuff. Then in came Deicide and Morbid Angel and Death, and it was this massive snowballing of looking for more extreme, faster, heavier music.
Awesome, man. Well, what made you pick up a guitar?
What made me pick up a guitar? Well, this is a very easy question. When I was young, and my uncle had a guitar. But I never really learned how to play it. I never really cared about actually learning how to play it. I would just pick it up and like roll golf balls down the strings and make funny noises. But then I remember it was when MTV had first came on, and it was Judas Priest heading out to the highway video. And there's this image of KK Downing, the guitarist.
Yes.
Long blonde hair, black leather, spikes with the big red flying V guitar. And when I saw that guy, I was like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to not to be a blonde guy, be a guy in black leather with a flying V.
Yes. That's oh, dude. There you go. And now you have some V guitars behind you. You have many of them. Is that your guitar? The V? You have to have a V.
No, I play a couple of different shapes, but a V is definitely in the rotation,
Yeah.
But they're all kind of takeoffs of the V,
You can't just be playing like some Gibson original. You got to have some sort of interesting, carve out for it, right? You got to have some cool shape.
It's got to be angular.
Okay. Spiky. It's got to be stab worthy.
Yes, exactly. Round guitars are for dudes that play jazz.
All right, man. Well, okay. So I'm not going to punish you with all my obsessive questions about Acid Bath. I'm a big fan. I just have a couple. Though. So I'm curious if what's your so if anyone's listening and they're not familiar, Acid Bath was the first band, at least a big notable band that Sammy played with and was in. And if you don't know them, go back and listen to them. All the stuff is online now. You can check it out. But my question is what's your opinion on like the underground cult like obsessive fans of Acid Bath, man? Because there is a rabid. Anytime you see like a Goatwhore video, people are like, Acid Bath, dude. It's like there is an underground cult. Like, what's your opinion on that, man?
I could say, where were y'all when we were together? God damn it. No, I'm just joking. I mean, I'm just, I'm grateful that people are, still letting that band stay alive.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful that people are still paying attention to the music and keeping the music alive. I mean, it really, I'm speechless on the whole situation. I never imagined in a million years that it would be bigger than it was when it was together years down the line after it's been broken up. You know what I'm saying? It's mind blowing. I didn't see that coming. Let's put that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was like, when we were together right before we broke up, I mean, we were just starting to do okay, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, things happen. You can't control those things. And then it kind of like died for a little bit. Then all of a sudden, within the last like maybe 10 years or so, it's like back. It's like, what happened here? It's I'm not complaining at all. It's awesome. I appreciate all the fans that still, like I said, that still appreciate the music and still keep the music alive.
So I'm a Seattle guy, and we're a Seattle rock radio station, and I gotta ask, was there ever any Seattle music influence on you guys? Because I can kind of hear, if maybe it's just my ears, but maybe a little bit of Alice in Chains or Soundgarden influence in there because it was going on around the same time, or not so much.
I know our bass player, Audie Petrie, the bass player that passed away, he was a humongous Alice in Chains fan.
Okay, yeah.
Gigantic Alice in Chains fan. I know Dax Riggs was a very, very big Nirvana fan, believe it or not. And of course, the
Melvins too, and
that definitely, that whole, and the Melvins, of course, you can't leave out the legends,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, of course, the Seattle scene definitely had some influence on us, without a doubt.
Cool. Well, okay. So my last question for Acid Bath: how often are you approached for like a potential like amalgamation reunion of sorts or something? How often? Is it every year, every 2 years?
Not so much anymore. There were some rumors going around that we were supposed to do something. Then that's when people from certain fests around the United States and say, well, how much would it take to make this happen?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's some members of that band that aren't really interested in reliving those times again. So, I mean, it really sucks, because I I would love to play those songs again,
Yeah.
but I can't do it alone. It's the whole
Yep.
thing. But maybe I'll do my own acid bath tribute band and just find a bunch of guys that sound like everybody that played in the band and just be sorry, it's not the original, but I'm here.
Yeah, just call it Pagan Love Song or something.
Yeah, man, it'd be great. I'd have so much fun. It would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, put that out into the ether and we'll get some interest, I'm sure. So I'm curious about so I talked with Jimmy Bauer over the pandemic and he was working kind of like a labor job. He was working with making some sort of steel, working with steel. But anyway, so I'm curious, we're obviously no one's getting, well, not most people aren't getting millions, working in extreme underground music. Do you have like a labor job or a 9 to 5, or is music your full-time thing?
Well, luckily for me, I don't have to do that. I kind of figured out some ways to work around that to where I don't have to do a 9 to 5. Where I was, we did a signature run of my guitars.
That's awesome.
A while back, early this year, that did fantastic. So that helped a lot. I did a signature line with some guitar pedals. That helps a lot. As I guess almost like a 9 to 5 is that I turn and burn a lot of guitars. Like I'll hit up a lot of pawn shops and like find used guitars and stuff and just fix them and just sell them for more than what I paid for.
Well, that's a side hustle if I do say, yeah.
Buy low, sell high.
That's a good side hustle.
Yeah, it definitely got me through the pandemic when I was kind of getting nervous because I had a couple of guitars in my collection that were worth a lot of money that I wasn't really crazy about. So these dudes were offering me this crazy amount of money for these guitars. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, wait a minute. If I could track down more of these things and not pay a whole lot of money for them and sell them to these collectors that want to pay the right amount of money for them, then hell yeah. So that's another thing that I was doing as a side hustle that definitely helped me out during COVID.
That's cool, man. We all had to kind of figure out something. I think we're all going to have a few more tools under our belts, coming out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I didn't want to do, where I'm at right now in my life. I just want to be involved with music some kind of way in everything that I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go and work some shitty job fucking doing something that I hate.
Making someone else rich, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I'd rather just do something, even though it's not making me totally rich, as long as I'm making enough money to get by and I'm happy. That's all I really care about,
Rich in spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, okay. So, I don't want to take up your whole day with this interview, but I do have a couple questions. So I'm assuming you like some music that you wouldn't consider hard or metal. What is an album or a band or something that you love that people might be surprised the dude from Goatwhore likes?
Man, that's hard because you wrong because that's all I listen to.
Oh, really? Okay. Never mind. I didn't know.
Let me think, man. Oh, geez, dude. That's a tough one. Man, probably Old Dead Can Dance.
Okay. Yeah.
Like some of that kind of weird, spooky, ambient kind of,
dark stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It might not be heavy, but it's still dark.
Dark, exactly. That either or, I could take it.
All right, man. Right on. Well, okay. So my final question for you, Sammy, is if you can show us, but if not, that's fine. Pick a scar on your body and give us the story of how you got that scar, Sammy.
Oh man. I'll have to do that without getting myself in trouble.
All right.
I don't know if you can see it, but there's a scar on my thumb.
Oh yeah, we can see that
around there. Okay, when I was a kid, I was playing in this like they had an old like scrap yard in the back.
Okay,
where my parents lived.
Get your tetanus shot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was doing something, and there was a Nutra. You know what a Nutra is?
Mm-mm.
Like a big rat.
Oh my God. Okay.
They live in Louisiana. There's lots of them. So there was this neutral running around.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was like confused, so he couldn't find his way to get away from me and my friends. And we were throwing these glass bottles at him.
Sure.
And something when I went down to grab a glass bottle, the top of it was like a jar. So I grabbed the top and it sliced my hand from there to there. So basically, my thumb was almost detached.
Jesus.
And I was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
I remember my dad yelling at me. And I'm like, I think I need to go to the hospital. And my dad's like just yelling at me. He's like, you should have been messing around back there with broken glass, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Dad, my thumb is hanging off.
Yeah. Can we spare the talk about it? Let's go get this figured out.
Can you yell at me when I've stopped bleeding first?
Yeah,
yeah, that's one that just pops up over my head.
I like it, man. That's gnarly, and I'm surprised it never affected like your nerves or your guitar playing.
I'm surprised as well, because it's like right when I got that was right before I actually started learning how to play guitar.
Okay.
Like seriously learning how. So I guess I lucked out some kind of way.
Neutra's revenge, dude.
Neutra's revenge. He definitely showed me. I will tell you that I never messed around with a Neutra after that.
All right, man. Right on. Well, okay. Well, again, so I do have to mention this one more time. The Goatwhore is coming here October 29th with Eris, Death Cave, and the first show for a band called La Cabra, Lance's band. And that's going to be at El Corazon. I would encourage you to dress up as weird as possible. Put some face paint on, get weird.
Yes, I encourage fucking costumes, please.
Be awesome.
Yes.
Right on, man. Any final words for the Northwest and Seattle audience before the show?
I can't wait to see all you guys on the 29th. I'm ecstatic about this show. This is going to be a great night, and it's playing one of my favorite venues, El Corazon. So it's going to be awesome.